Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining me on my latest Fortnite Creative beginner tutorial that will show you how you can add minigames to your Fortnite Creative Island and how you can utilize them in your game design solutions and other options for your game. To do that, you need a device that was relatively recently added, which is called, weirdly enough, something that doesn't sound like a minigame. Instead, it's called a skilled interaction device. I have one right here. When you do add it, you get your mini game. Now, mini games are useful for a bunch of reasons. You can add a different kind of break in your gameplay tempo. You can add a new gameplay mechanic. You can do a bunch of stuff. I already kind of discussed how to use skilled interaction device. You can find that video on my channel. But for this video, I just want to explain why these mini games are kind of a quintessential new element to Fortnite Creative experiences, because they deepen it and broaden it in many ways. So first of all, to understand the skilled interaction device, you need to understand that you need to kind of have a device that activates it, which is this begin interaction for instigator when receiving from, and it needs to do something when you're successful. Otherwise, you simply have an activity that is meaningless. Again, I did all of this for my previous video on skilled interactions device, but for now, let's just have kind of a regular setup where we simply have a button that activates a mini game. To do that, I'm going to add the same button. I'm going to go and here under devices, I'm going to find the button and I'm going to use it to start up a mini game. The button will be here and I'm going to go and state that it should begin interaction when receiving from instigator, which is button on interact. I won't change anything. I will keep all of these elements as is. You can of course change this and you should change this. And I'm going to keep the UI type, which is the type of minigame that you can use, which is circular, pulsing and bar. All of them again have a series of their own elements. Again, check out my previous video on interaction devices, on skilled interaction devices. But for now, I'm just going to explain it in terms of game design and why it should be something that you're using. So let's say that you have a regular shooter multiplayer game that you want to include in a kind of a broader ecosystem of PvP or player versus player, but also you want to have something that breaks this tempo, and that is, for example, a button that locks, let's say, a safe or a safe house or any kind of room where you have, for example, additional weapons or ammo, and you don't want to simply have the players that come and activate the door. You want them to have a mini game that they need to play to open that same door. I'm going to show you how that minigame could look like, while at the same time the players are under pressure from other players who are hunting them, they're fighting, and everything from regular PvP multiplayer. So let's see how this looks like in the game, how that minigame would look like in the level. Here we are, here's the button, I'm activating it, and here it is. It's a minigame that comes on directly onto the HUD. You have your several zones, your biggest zone, middle zone and small zone, and you basically interact. With interaction you stop this bar or the line going across this circular bar, and once that happens you succeed. Now you can of course add further rounds, change the look of the same mini game, and then connect it to whatever you like as a success. Or you can even add a further element that on failure, players get some kind of let's say, a negative reward, like they lose an HP, damage zone appears or something like that. All the while this is happening inside of your regular game. That is, again, in hypothetically speaking terms, a multiplayer shooter where you can at any point accept or kind of expect that someone is coming to take your life and win the round. With these mini games or skill interaction device, you get a lot more options of diversifying your gameplay, and employing it for a range of purposes. Now, of course, like I said, there are other options for the actual look of the same minigame or skill interaction device. Let's change it to another, and let's go for pulsing. And we're going to see that the principle remains the same. Of course, you can add text that explains what you need to do, what happens when you succeed or you fail. But when we go for pulsing, we have something like this. As you can see, the pulse is coming from the edges towards the center. Again, you need to kind of interact. As you can see, this was a bad interaction and I now have to do it again. This was a good interaction, but I can make it even more precise. I can kind of ask for the interaction to happen in the narrowest band and thus make it more kind of challenging and hard for players to compete. But again, the principle is simple, the effects and kind of causalities of the device are simple. You need something that activates it and something that the same device or minigame does when successful or when unsuccessful or failed. And with this, you have a brand new element for your kind of core gameplay loop in your Fortnite Creative Island. So it's really useful, really cool. It has a weird name. Aside from that, it's probably the best device that Fortnite Creative, not UEFN, but Fortnite Creative got in the last year or so. That's all for this tutorial. Hopefully you found it useful. Hopefully you found it interesting. If you did, please let me know. Of course, you can also support me across my different kind of ventures that include not just YouTube, but I'm also running a Patreon page on Patreon. I also have on my YouTube channel membership where you can kind of become my regular monthly supporter. I also have my books on Amazon that you can check out. All of that is in the description below, but the cheapest, easiest, fastest way to support me is to subscribe to my channel and be here for my new videos. That's all for me. My name is Ivica. Thanks so much for watching and have loads of fun in your Fortnite creative adventures. Until my next video, bye bye.